Welcome back to the channel. We have today a video on the titled Camp 14, the most horrible place in North Korea by the channel Fern. And we'll get right into it.
Class is about to start for these 40 school kids.
Don't forget, if you like this video, you can find it down in the description, where you just above that. You can also hit that subscribe button and leave a like if you enjoy.
Like every week, the teacher starts searching everyone's pockets. This time, he finds something on a little girl. 5 kernels of grain. The teacher snaps and commands the girl to come up front. She has to kneel down on the hard concrete floor. With a wooden stick, he strikes her on the head. Again and again.
You hear crazy stories that come out of North Korea and whatnot, and that my all-time favorite crazy one has got to be the time that they executed a guy via anti-aircraft battery. That's a pretty good one. It's like, oh yeah, we get some pretty cool execution tactics here. Yet here's anti-aircraft battery.
And again and again. Her classmates watch in silence. The beating
Well,
goes
they don't
on
want to get beat.
until the little girl collapses. Afterwards, her classmates carry her home. The same night, she dies.
This is a dark one. I honestly didn't expect today's to be so dark. I mean, it's a North Korea video, so why didn't I think of it? But, you know, hindsight. We'll continue. It's North Korea,
The
so
little
all these
girl
things
and the
I
other
don't
39
expect.
children are all inmates in one of North Korea's deadliest prison camps, Camp 14.
Comparisons have been drawn to the Nazi death camps, to the Soviet Gulag.
I bet you they took inspiration. I don't like using that word to, you know, inspire to build these things, but like, okay, they definitely took some design, some ideas and whatnot. So yeah, I bet you they looked at everything the Nazis did, the gulags of the Soviet Union did, and Russia. And I bet you that they continued to design and be like, all right, now that's pretty fucked up. Now how can we up the ante and make it even more fucked up?
You know, they're accurate, and in their own way, they're different.
A lawless detention facility hidden in the mountains of Kaeshan, a place where people are imprisoned for the crimes of their parents. Once you end up here,
That
you will
makes
most
sense.
likely die here.
This is
Because if you commit a crime, it's like 5 generations of your family get punished. So if you commit a crime, your parents will get hauled off, your grandparents will, and if you have children, they will, and then if your children grow up and happen to have children, their children will be hauled off too. You get that 5, 2 above, 2 below, and it's like, yep. That I like their tough on crime approach. How they go about doing it is very wrong. There needs to be a nice fine middle to discover where you're not authoritarian, absolutely fucked, or on the other side of things where, you know, you're soft on crime and criminals are walking the streets free to do whatever they want, feeling invincible.
truly a space that is outside humanity, let me say that.
Prisoners are forced to work under inhumane conditions. The smallest mistake can cost them their lives.
I mean, if you want to take in the idea of, you know, America has the most prisoners, you know, across the board, well, take the idea that North Korea's entire country, every single person in their population is basically a prisoner and not ever allowed to leave the jail that is North Korea.
Escape is almost impossible. Only a handful make it out, risking everything on deadly routes. In North Korea, there are several of these death camps, and the regime has kept them a secret for decades. But through the relentless work of human rights organizations, satellite imagery, and reports from survivors, we can have a glimpse at these facilities. Why are people being sent to Camp 14? What does daily life look like inside its walls? What horrors do the inmates face? And how do people actually get out? This is the story of the most horrific prison
They get out by being very, very lucky.
camp in North Korea. This story is based on Escape from Camp 14 by Blaine Harden. One former prisoner of Camp 14 later changed parts of his story. Every time you see this symbol, it marks those revisions. If you want to know more about the exact changes in these camp, Shin
Moving
Dong-hyuk
on.
is just a young boy when he witnesses the little girl being punished for having food in her pocket. Shin has no doubt she deserved it. After all, she stole food, and in Camp 14, stealing means death. He doesn't question it. He knows nothing else. The camp rules are his reality. Shin was born in Camp 14, but his parents didn't fall in love. They were assigned to each other by prison guards. Intimacy between men and women is strictly forbidden. If a woman becomes pregnant without permission, both she and the baby are shot. In Camp 14, there is only one way to have a child: promotion. Those who work hard, and more importantly, snitch on others, may be granted a reward marriage. This is how Shin Dong-hyuk and his older brother Shin Hee-gyun come into the world. But they don't grow up as a real family. Their mother never talks about the past.
Yeah, this is the authoritarian regime that the modern day American left thinks that the Republican conservative group wants to implement. This is what they think that we want to do. It's like, no, actually, we just want to get married, have families, have the government protect our borders, and, monitor, do trade deals and business with other countries that get us, in the best favor of things, or things that are fair with the other countries, things that are equal for both, and that we both get some kind of benefit. But, we don't want the government involved in every single choice we get to do personally. That's the left that asked us, oh, you must call us by these things, but if you don't, we're going to yell at you and, get you fired from your job because you chose to do that. Oh, and to those who noticed, I've got Charlie Kirk's Freedom shirt. I chose one in red because, well, he wore a white one and then someone turned it red. So I'll wear a red one, and if anyone tries to turn it redder, just look for the dark spots. That way they can't see me bleed. Never let your enemies see you bleed. Just make sure your enemies are wearing the brown pants.
Shin has no clue why his parents were imprisoned, and it probably wouldn't matter anyway.
It's all about suspicion. You don't have to be an anti-regime character. But if you're suspected of being anti-regime, of being a wrongdoer, a wrong thinker, of having engaged in wrong associations, they will send you to the camp.
This is Greg Scarlatoiu. He's president and CEO of HRNK, the Washington-based Committee on Human Rights in North Korea. For years, Greg and
There are no human rights in North Korea, just human wrongs. Everything that government does to their people is basically just more fucked up and wrong and bad. And it's just like, how can you continue? How can a country continue to exist when it treats its people so poorly? Like, haven't any other generations, grown up and realized it's not normal? I mean, yeah, they've got such heavy censorship that no, they don't know what the world beyond their borders is, because that's what they're told. They're probably told the world beyond it is just a war zone. Everything, you'll die out there. And it's like, in North Korea, you are safe. We have best military. It's probably what they're told. And from escapees of the country, yeah, that's basically is what they are told. They're told that, North Korea defeated all their enemies. North Korea kicked out everybody else, and they took the power of the world. They've got the best things. And it's like, in reality, not really. In reality, you lost, got kicked back to the North. The North and South decided, hey, we're just not going to fight anymore. Here's an agreement that we just won't fight. It's not a peace treaty. It's just an agreement that we're not going to fight anymore. And it's like, okay, that conflict could ever turn back around. Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to see happen in the world if it ever did. I'd wonder or I wonder which countries would choose sides with who. With North Korea's side, I'm probably betting China and Russia, considering the 3 leaders of those countries just met in Beijing for China's military parade the other week. And all 3 leaders were actually, found in video clips that you can look up, and they were all chatting together. I've got a video early on in the channel that went over some of that stuff, which some of what those dictators were talking about, it's like they're talking about, harvesting organs from young, swapping out theirs to make themselves live longer and it's like, maybe it could work, but it also, if all of a sudden something goes wrong in the exchange of organs, you could wind up dying instantly. And it's like, especially in a country like North Korea, where, yeah, they don't have Western healthcare that's perfect and can get you help and everything. They don't care about healthcare there. They just want to control their people and have the least amount of issues in country.
His team have been investigating human rights abuses at these camps. Like many others, Shin will most likely stay in Camp 14 for the rest of his life, even though he never committed a crime. This is the house Shin and his mother live in. Along with his mother's promotion came slightly better housing. They share it with 3 other families and sleep on the floor. There is a single light bulb in the kitchen. Electricity works for just 2 hours a day. There's no running water.
Because the country chooses not to give its citizens light or any real entertainment other than the suffering of each other. It's like, I don't know why this country won't rise up. It's like, yes, there will be a lot of death that might happen, but in the end, it will 100% be worth it. Because it's like, at this point, what is the rest of the world to do? Because they've been brainwashed in the country to think that, the United States is the enemy, that it's all bad over here, we would do them harm if we got the chance to and got our hands on them. And it's like, at some point, what is worse? Letting them just stay and suffer, and if they won't free themselves, let them suffer, or just, there's other options. I've heard one proposed that wasn't necessarily the greatest option because it's still suffering, but someone was like, well, we should just bomb the country to kingdom come and, wipe it fresh. And then, well, everybody who's suffering won't be suffering anymore. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily a best option. Forcing the country to start changes, I don't know if that would work. I don't know how you could force that regime to change at this point. At this point, it would probably take the death of a leader and a new leader to come in and flip at things and actually change things from the inside. But there's not many pathways forward with this one.
Water, no furniture, no shower, and barely enough food to survive. The building is part of a model village, one of many. Camp 14 is estimated to cover around 153 square kilometers, almost 3 times the size of Manhattan. It is secured by a 60-kilometer fence, patrol paths, barracks, guard posts, and checkpoints. The whole area stretches from river valleys to mountain peaks. The wilderness and the Taedong River act as a natural barrier, an immense obstacle course separating the facility from the outside.
So one of the things about the United States, we've got, the 2 biggest natural barriers on the planet, the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean, preventing, massive invasions from, an army of a foreign nation that dislikes us to ever invade us. So yeah, that's smart, putting this camp right along the riverside and having mountainous areas around. I mean, if you're a weak individual who's been, beat down and beat down and beat down day after day after day after day in this camp, you're most likely not going to have a lot of energy to get in a river and swim out or go mountain climbing and hiking around that way. It's like you're most likely going to die either way trying to escape. So yeah, this is the real true power of the camp, is the geographical location and the smart choice of where to put things.
Outside world. Little villages are scattered across the vast area, containing housing and working units.
These are sprawling facilities. They're very large facilities. So at some of these facilities, you see farming, agriculture going on. You see some of these facilities that are adjacent to coal mines or other types of mineral exploitation.
Researching and animating topics like these take a lot of time. We worked for months on just this video with the help of more than a dozen people.
Yeah, this is a great thing to put in there too, showing that this isn't just AI created, because nowadays most things that would be made like this are going to be AI created, and there's a lot of YouTube channels that are using AI now, and I think necessarily that some things you can do it with, but if like the majority of the project you're doing is all AI generated and you didn't really do anything but plug it together a certain way, it's like, yes, you made it, but you made it with a lot of help. Massive asterisk right there saying, I did it. Because, yeah, you did do it, but you had AI to help you a lot along the way. So, it's that kind of double-edged sword of, yes, AI can be a good tool to help, but that's all you should look at as the tool, not necessarily the replacement of the worker.
And this wouldn't be possible without our sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant lessons in math,
Brilliant
science,
sponsor.
to everything Brilliant offers.
Jumping ahead. Some people get in trouble for sponsors. That's the only reason I skip them. If you're not the one being it, sometimes you can get a little... Some sponsor brands are just a little picky about it.
The camp has its own railroad network and generates its own electricity. And it also has a school. This is where Shin goes every day. His teacher wears a guard's uniform, carries a weapon, and teaches obedience above all else. Camp rules...
That's because their teacher's a guard. Spoiler. Shocker. Oh no, wait. The only one shocked here is Hassan's dog.
...are brutal. There are 10 of them. Even the smallest violation can lead to execution. Shin memorizes them all. Rule 1. Any witness to an attempted escape who fails to report it will be shot immediately.
I mean, yeah, that would be a great way to deter anyone escaping is, hey, if you see someone trying to get away, you let us know, all right? You'll get some extra stuff that day if you can report something. All right? Okay.
Rule 3.
And I bet you it's not just a choice to memorize these rules. I bet you it's highly encouraged.
Anyone who steals or conceals any foodstuffs will be shot immediately. Rule 5. Anyone who holds or hides a fugitive's possessions, conspires with him, or fails to report him will be shot immediately. The guards enforce the rules without mercy.
내가 총을 꾸려서 뭐 쏘거나 해도 한나무
Oh, he's a former guard.
일반적으로 우리는 그때 써도 나라를 지키기 위해서.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing about it is like, you know, I'm sitting here like some others probably are saying, how is this allowed to continue? How do the people just think it's normal? And right there, he was a guard. He's like, I thought it was normal. Thought that's how we protected our nation.
내가 한일이기 때문에.
Which just shows you how good the brainwashing is. When the government controls the media, you can brainwash your people into thinking anything.
들어오게 되면 사람이
You're
아니야.
not treated as human beings anymore. You're treated like animals. I could do anything with the prisoners that I felt like.
그 안에 사람은
Which, yeah, being able to have that sentence, and it's like, the guards do have free reign. They could all collectively choose to be nice to the people there that they're, you know, guarding when it's just imprisoning. Because I'm sure if the people inside think, oh, these are our guards, these people are here to protect us. Beyond here is probably an unsafe area, which is why these places aren't set up to look like traditional prisons. It's just, okay, here's the house you live in. Here's the families you get to live with. These are your friends you get to exist with. oh, here's your wife, your partner that we gave you. You get to love each other. Have fun. Don't have a kid though. You can't have that unless you have unless you get promoted. If you have a kid and we find out you're pregnant, you're both getting shot. It's like that's not a normal thing. It's probably, like the don't have a kid is like, oh yeah, we don't have enough food to feed so many people if you have kids, so we got to keep the population down. It's probably what they're told, I would assume. And it's like, yeah, this guy's just like, I had all the power.
죽이겠으면 죽이고 살리겠으면 살리고 하는 건 내
Decision
마음이야.
whether to kill them or let them live was completely up to me.
Across North Korea, there are different types of detention facilities. The worst of them are
Just like the Nazis had. Like, here is where we get to throw out the term Nazi and authoritarian dictatorship, because this country here is a true communist authoritarian dictatorship, and it is the biggest one in the truest sense of the terms. There's no better example of splitting a country down the middle, capitalism in the south, communism in the north, having completely different governments, and then waiting 70 years, and look what happened. The north has a GDP of like less than some United States, like the singular state, and the south, can rival the entire country of Japan. I'm going to play this.
called Kwanliso. Camp 14 is one of them. It's also called a total control zone.
People never get out of those. They just waste away. They get killed by this vicious cycle of malnutrition.
Okay, maybe not quite. Here's the GDP of South Korea. In US dollars, we're at 1.713 trillion, and I was a bit off, but Japan is 4.2026. So I was off by quite a bit. So anyone in the comments who knew all that information, I was just guessing. I was a bit off, but hey, if we add in there, North Korea, only at about 26.6 billion, which is a lot smaller. In fact, I'll pull up a calculator and divide 1.713 billion and divide that by GDP of 26.6 billion. I get, only about 6,400 North Koreas to equal one South Korea. So yeah, to all those people who are in your life who say communism would be the way to go, socialism would be a great thing to implement.
And
no, it wouldn't.
Forced labor.
Not one bit would it be a good idea to implement. Communism in history has never worked. It has failed
Shin's mother
over
has to
and
work the
over
rice
and
fields,
over again.
10 to 15 hours of hard labor every day. If she meets her quota, she receives
China, if you even try to call them communists, they're more capitalist today than they ever have been in their history. I would call China a capitalist dictatorship, is what it is, that in its sense. It is a functional country, and I will give it that. But if anyone tries to call them communist, they're wrong. They're just capitalist with a good amount of social benefits, yet they also have a lot of crazy censorship, similar to North Korea. Like, in China, there's tons and tons of censorship. They've got that countrywide firewall that doesn't allow certain news to get in.
food, just enough to survive the night and make it through the next day.
North Korea is all about production targets. If you don't meet them, and probably you will not meet them, you'll get less food, more work, less food, more work, and that's how you waste away and die. That's, the truly tragic story at these camps.
From the moment Shin starts school, his life is split between the classroom and hard labor in the coal mine. Long work days are
The children yearn for the mines. And maybe North Korea's onto
made
something
worse
with
by
this
constant gnawing
specific
hunger.
one.
Before school,
That's a joke. That's a joke.
School, Shin often eats his mother's portion while she's still out in the fields. She beats him for it, but he does it anyway. To him, she's not a source of love or care. She's a rival in the fight for every meager scrap of food.
The same way that in Star Wars you have the Empire, and with how a little gonna nerd off tangent here, so you could probably skip like 1 minute ahead, and hopefully I'll be done yapping. But in Star Wars, you got the Empire ruled by Palpatine as a Sith. The Sith, they basically are going to do what North Korea does. They want everybody beneath them infighting, going after each other, so that they're all distracted fighting each other, that no one rises up and takes the person out on top.
This is Shin's meal, served 3 times a day for his entire prison life. If he makes a mistake, his portion is cut in half as punishment. Sometimes he and other inmates catch rats, the only source of meat in Camp 14. For Shin, this isn't as much as a nightmare. It's normal life. He has never seen the world beyond the barbed wire. Unlike this man.
And there's also probably some of them that don't even think this is that bad of a life if they're born into it too, because that's all they know. That's all they've been taught. They've probably been told things about the outside world that are untrue, that got them to be like, well, I guess if this is all that there is left, this is all we'll do.
Kim Young is in his mid-40s when he's brought to Camp 14. He knows the world outside very well. In fact, he was a high-ranking military officer and vice president of a state-owned company. In his former life, he enjoyed culture, a chauffeur, and all the benefits of being a government employee. Now he's also forced to work in the coal mines. Kim didn't break any laws to get here. His parents did. In North Korea, this form of collective punishment is called yunjoje, guilt by
association. And that's the whole punishing multiple generations of a family if anyone in the family commits any level of crime according to their government.
Association. Up to 3 generations can be punished for crimes of family members. When Kim was a child, his father and brother were accused of spying for the United States, enough to execute them. After that, Kim was brought to an orphanage under a new name. It took more than 40 years until someone found out about his true heritage. Even Kim himself wasn't aware of the supposed crimes his family allegedly committed.
There's absolutely no judicial process. This is extrajudicial punishment.
Yeah, when the government controls the media, the government controls the police force, they control the military, they can control your life in a very, very specific way. And yeah, that's what conservatives and Republicans are actually fighting for. The only thing I would say any of them are not fighting for it are to those who are for the Online Safety Act, because it's not really for online safety, it's for online censorship.
They'll just, take you away in the middle of the night together with your family members.
No, online censorship and online mass data collection of government-issued information, IDs, etc., that could become a massive trove of problem later.
Just disappear.
If it gets hacked.
잡아가는
We never did arrest during the day. That was always a night in secret without the neighbors noticing. If an entire family was brought to a camp for political prisoners, the family members had no idea why they had been even sent to the prison
Fear
camp.
is the most powerful tool for prison guards to keep inmates in line. During Kim's time in Camp 14, a total of 25 inmates are executed. One day, he witnesses a fellow prisoner being killed for collecting chestnuts that had fallen from a tree. Kim spends most of his days underground, hours and hours of endless work with no sunlight and no mercy. Kim struggles. He's never faced labor like this before. Mistakes are inevitable, and every one of them is met with the punishment of a guard who never leaves his side. One day, a guard strikes Kim with the butt of his gun till he falls unconscious. For the next 2 days, he only receives half his meals. After more than 2 months,
I'm betting you the guards are taking the portions that they don't give out when their portions get cut. I bet you it's the guards who are rewarded for, reporting the dissidents and, battering their people. And it's, definitely is a kill or be killed kind of mentality culture.
Of living like this in Camp 14, Kim decides to end it. Following a long day of work, he steps into the elevator of a mining shaft. The metal cage ascends until it reaches a height of around 2,000 feet. He pulls the safety pin, and the elevator falls. But Kim survives, and the vicious cycle goes on. When Shin is about 6 or 7, the camp's borders shift. His village is merged into the neighboring Camp 18, just across the river. It's said to be slightly less brutal than Camp 14, but for Shin, life hardly changes at all. Shin is 15 and has moved out from his mother's home. He now lives with his father. One day, a teacher allows Shin to spend the night at his mother's house, a reward for good behavior. When he arrives, another guest awaits. It's his brother, Shin Hee-gyun. The 21-year-old works at the prison cement factory, a couple of miles away. Shin doesn't like him at all. In the middle of the night, Shin wakes up from his sleep. He hears voices from the kitchen. His brother is talking about escape. His mother seems to support him. Shin's first instinct, he has to report this. He goes to a nearby dorm room and wakes a friend to ask for advice. The friend urges Shin to tell the guards. They go to the school's night guard on duty and report the escape plot. Shin also signs a false police statement, claiming he saw his mother and brother commit murder. This piece of evidence ultimately leads to an execution order.
I mean, attempted escape probably would it warrant the execution order as well. Because, North Korea doesn't like that shit either.
Let's take Shin to an execution site next to the Taedong River. A crowd has gathered to watch. They drag out his mother and his brother. They're killed in front of Shin's eyes. In 1996, Kim Young is transferred to Camp 18. To him, this place feels like heaven. The labor conditions are slightly better, and to his surprise, he reunites with his 70-year-old mother, who is also a prisoner.
Oh, wonderful.
Here. But the violence and abuse don't stop.
Of course
One
not.
day, he has to witness how guards beat up his mother and force her to do manual labor. His mother is certain they will both die in the camp. Even though it means risking his life, she urges Kim to leave her behind and escape. Escaping from a North Korean death camp is almost impossible.
These are highly protected facilities. You're talking barbed wire, walls, armed guards, intersecting lines of fire. We're talking machine guns. Very, very difficult to escape. I mean, it's, difficult to escape a detention facility in any civilized country, Imagine North Korea.
Kim Young quietly studies his surroundings. He observes, waits, and starts thinking. He lays out multiple escape plans, but none of them seem doable to him. Another hard day of work. The prisoners are loading coal onto a train. Suddenly, they spot something. Grain scattered across the bottom of a train car. It must have transported food before. The scene explodes into chaos. Prisoners drop everything, desperately looking for the tiniest speck of food.
Course.
The guards start shouting, but no one listens.
Though.
Kim discovers a narrow space beneath a metal panel in the floor of a coal wagon. He squeezes inside, and as the train rumbles out of Camp 18, he rides with it.
Just allowed them to carry him out with the coal and the mined goods and maybe some farmed goods as well that are in other cars. But yeah. That's definitely the easy way out if they don't check the train at any gate super well. I assume they will.
Hours later, the train reaches Goan Station at around 4 a.m. We don't know exactly how, but Kim manages to crawl out of his hideout and disappears into the night.
I mean, if it's dark out, that country doesn't really have much lighting,
Camp 18,
so
but his path to
it's a
freedom
pretty dark
is still
spot.
very long.
You can see satellite images of North Korea at night, and you basically have the whole country's dark, and you see bright lit up South Korea, bright lit up China, but then you got that little North Korea strip that's just nothing but darkness.
After finding a worker's uniform, he changes clothes and starts a treacherous journey that will take him many months through China and Mongolia to South Korea, where he'll eventually seek asylum. Escaping a prison is one thing, Escaping the
Escaping
country,
the country
is
is
another.
a far
He
different
made a whole
task.
video on how to escape North Korea. Link is in the description.
If you're still around, comment down below if you want me to react to that one. I'll go back and do it too, and do that one in a week or so, somewhere around there. Or you just comment and any other video suggestions as well.
Shin also manages to escape from Camp 18 twice, both times by crawling under a fence. Both times he's recaptured. After his second attempt, Shin is sent back to Camp 14 and is thrown into a special detention center, a place with only one purpose: torture.
Place you go to die.
그냥 뭐 매만 맞고
I still have the scars of my torture and the burns.
뭐 내가 걱정들 안 해.
Look at my arms.
내가 예능 사람들처럼
My arms aren't normal. They are bent and deformed.
Well, as much as I'd like to look at the arms other than the bent and deformedness that we can clearly see, any other marks, due to their camera quality recording, well, we won't be able to see anything.
Before I was tortured, my arms were straight.
다 이렇게 꺾고 나는 이렇게 또
Ooh.
마음도 그렇고.
When I was tortured, my arms were tied up with a rope and pulled backwards.
그러다 보니까 저절로 이렇게 팔이 계속 휘는
That
거예요.
made them more and more bent.
그럼 이런 거 샤워하다가
I'm filled with anger when I stand in front of the mirror and look at my body after a shower.
이런 모습들이기 때문에.
I not to this extent, but I know the feeling of having part of your body be broken and not work the way the way it should, the way it's intended to. With earlier this year, I broke my femur, and for like a month, I couldn't even stand on my own. I had to ask for help. By the time I finally could, I'm just like hobbling around, and I have massive limp that I walk with, and you don't realize how heavy your own legs are until you have to lug one of them around.
After 4 weeks of torture, he's thrown into a pitch-black cell. No windows and barely enough space to
Sensory
lie down.
deprivation chambers.
There he'll spend the next 6 months. After his release, Shin is thrown back to the general prison population.
Back to the
He
coal
has to work in
mine.
the coal mine, the farm fields, and eventually in a garment factory. This is where he meets Park Young-chul, a man unlike anyone Shin has ever seen. Born into an elite family, Park once held a prestigious job and had seen the world beyond North Korea's borders. By then, Shin already knows he's on the execution list. With Park at his side, he begins planning what will be Shin's third and final escape. Shin and Park are assigned to do some woodwork up in the mountains, along with some prisoners. They're chopping wood near the outer fence. The camp's fence is around 10 feet high and lined with high-voltage barbed wire. The next guard tower is a quarter of a mile away. Shin watches the patrols. There are long gaps between them where no guard is close enough to spot the two. The plan is simple. Wait until dusk.
It makes you think, how would you plan an escape from a place like this, or a Nazi death camp in World War II, or just a prison in America, a federal prison facility in America? Today, it's like, how would you get out? What would be your first steps? How would you make your plan? What ways would you come up with things? Would you try to do it solo? Would you have a group? Like, how would you go about it?
So that their footprints can't easily be traced in the snow. They slip through the high-voltage wires without touching them. As the sun sets, Shin and Park move closer to the fence. They hack branches, pretending to stack wood. Nobody notices them. Park hesitates. Shin's heart races.
Well, because if they get caught, they might just get killed on sight.
He grabs Park's hand and they run. Shin slips. Park reaches the fence before him. He tries to squeeze his head between the two lowest wires and hits one of them. Park's body is not moving. The bottom wire bends under his weight, creating a narrow gap.
Now you can get
Shin
out.
crawls over Park's body. He is almost past the fence when his legs slip, hitting one of the wires. The voltage tears through him. His pants char. His skin burns from ankle to knee.
But he's alive.
But somehow he makes it through. Park's body lies dead on the fence.
Yep.
Shin runs without looking back for 2
But
hours straight until
Due to the death of Park there, he was able to escape this
he realizes that
place.
he made it.
Is what I'm guessing.
He manages to cross the river to
Yeah.
China, and after a journey of almost 2 years,
Which, from other escapees, there's one specific story I believe her name is Yunomi Park. I believe when she escaped, because she and her mother escaped and went to China, and then that can be, not great, because all of a sudden the people who you get there and who are helping you get away and be free from North Korea, they might just decide to go, oh, you're a North Korea escapee? We're going to send you back there. We'll get a little reward from North Korea for catching an escapee, and you'll probably be put to death. Goodbye. Or they'll be like, hey, we'll do that if you don't do everything else we say. And now all of a sudden the Chinese have, different ways to enslave individuals, because there are a handful of women escapees from North Korea who become sex slaves in China to certain of these traffickers and people who don't necessarily have the benefit of the North Koreans to escape and join the rest of the civilized world.
He finally reaches South Korea. These are all the prison camps that are most likely active in North Korea today. According to Greg Scarlatoiu, the camps are changing, and not for the better. Camps near the border have reportedly been moved further inland, likely to make escape even harder. And some...
Oh yeah, I mean, if I were designing the place to put these, you take the most fucked up routes. You give the most screwed up things. It's like, yeah, it might be a little hard driving extra supplies in. It might take a little longer, but it'll take them a lot longer to get back out. It's like you're putting these things smack dab near the middle of the country, so anybody escaping has a really long way to go.
Some new internal perimeters have appeared, possibly to isolate high-value prisoners.
The third development in terms of infrastructure, evolution and development has been the creation of watchtowers and what appears to be intersecting lines of fire around the camps that would be meant to basically...
I bet you if they've bought any, drones, they're using those too to help find escapees with thermal imaging cameras, because that would be your easiest way to find someone who escaped. If you have evidence of an escapee or you're missing someone in count, is all of a sudden, oh, they probably escaped. Is there any evidence of fence, tamperment? Over this way? All right, get a drone and shoot a few of them out and head out those directions. Get them up high, get them cameras angled down, and find and look for heat signatures. It's like you could easily track down people, especially with the technology advancing. It's definitely not going to be easier in the future for people to escape from the camps and escape North Korea.
Exterminate those who attempt to leave those camps.
For some camps, evidence is even scarcer.
There's one camp that we know very little about, and that's Camp 16, 1-6. That's very close to the Punggye-ri nuclear testing facility. And I have spoken with the South Korean nuclear scientists who said, look, we don't believe that prisoners are used in digging those tunnels for the nuclear tests.
I can almost guarantee you that anything they're doing, tunnel digging, building, construction, they're using the slave labor of their prisoners.
But it is very likely that they will be, used and abused.
They will be used up, abused, and once they have no more energy left, they'll either be shipped off to some camp to die or just shot on site, I bet. It's definitely a lot of definitely violations of the Geneva Convention. If they were in a war zone, it would be like so many violations of human rights. I mean, it really is just in general, but like the war zone, if it were a war zone, imagine just Geneva Convention violation. Like they'd be speed running to get every single one of them
while cleaning up after those nuclear tests.
The HRNK estimates that up to 120,000 people are currently held in North Korean prison camps. In fact, as a viewer of this video, you might know more about them than most North Koreans ever will.
We have to remember that these people are being tortured and maimed today.
Yeah. Here's another great fact I'm going to pop up here. Is the population of North Korea in 2025 estimated to be about 26.4 million to 26.6 million people. Wasn't that the same as the North Korea GDP? Oh, 26 billion. So yeah, $26.6 billion for 26.6 million people. That's not the greatest ratio of people to amount of money in the country possesses. But yeah, if you take in there's 120,000 people estimated to be in those camps, there's still about 26 million people in the country that are technically, I will technically say, there's 26 million people in North Korean prisons.
They were tortured and maimed yesterday, and the same will happen tomorrow. So, I think it's a matter of moral, ethical, religious.
Which, to the people who are like, oh, the U.S. has the most incarcerated people, we probably do if you're talking about actual incarceration numbers, but, if you take into context that North Korea's whole country is basically imprisoned, we don't even get close to scratching their numbers.
And political obligation to continue to maintain our interest in these issues.
This is Shin today. He gradually adjusted to a life in society and became a public speaker and advocate for human rights in North Korea.
I think it's almost everybody who's left North Korea all of a sudden becomes a massive advocate for human rights human rights for people in North Korea. And I don't know what it will take in life to actually get there. It'll probably take some regime change in North Korea, the Kim Il family to be eliminated, removed from power, etc. Something, have another version of a better leader in power. Because the way they're running it now, it just isn't working. It's like, I'm someone who would love to see all of a sudden tomorrow I wake up and North Korea's leaders are like, yeah, we've just realized the errors of our ways and we're going to apologize to all our people and, help them move up in the world. We're going to sell a bunch of our weapons and whatnot to Russia and China, help disarm our military a bit, and we're going to take that money and use it for the benefit of our people. I would love it if that happened, but the likelihood of that is probably 1 in a billion.
2015, Shin Dong-hyuk retracted parts of his story and admitted to changing certain key details in Escape from Camp 14. The book's author published a detailed statement outlining every change Shin had made. According to Shin, some memories were simply too painful and others too shameful to share truthfully at the time. This is a common reaction for victims of torture, who often cope by suppressing or distorting their accounts of what really happened. Greg Scarlatoiu and others believe Shin's changes don't alter the fundamental truth of his reports.
Was Shin Dong-hyuk a political prisoner? Yes, 100%.
The whole country is political prisoners, and if you look at it like that, everybody there is a prisoner of their political system.
Okay, he spent some time both at Camp 14 and Camp 18, right across the river. Did he witness the execution of his mother and brother?
Yes.
Yes, he did. So the fundamental elements of...
Yeah, who cares if he got a few details wrong along the way? The basic of the story, his escape, is an incredible story. However, the horrors that he had to leave behind and the horrors that still exist in North Korea today are just problems in the world that we need to figure out some way to solve them in the near future. Hey, maybe that's Trump's next conflicts he solves after Gaza and Israel.
Shin Dong-hyuk's story
is the conflict between North Korea and its own people.
Shin bears the scars, physical and psychological. They leave little doubt about the abuse and torture he endured.
That was a great video, and no matter how horrible the topic was on, I'm going to leave a like, I'm going to toss a subscribe, and you should too, and I'm going to see you later with another one. I got a nice fun, hopefully more fun one coming later.